Right, take two. Yes, this is my second attempt because, as usual, I stumble on, ramble on, and all that crap. The theme for today's movie is going to be movies that had an impact on me. Grammar, whatever, on the thumbnail, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to try and stick to my notes. I do ramble on a little, and I do have things which I probably will tangent into, but I'll try and keep it minimal. First film is going to be this one. I'm not even watching. There we go. Yeah. Right. And I also have a 1 and a 2 and a 3. A little bit of a thing showing the screen, a couple of screens from the film and the poster. I'm glad it came out better this time round than I sort of kept twisting off screen on my first take. I noticed that I was talking and I'd be there like this, sort of like half of my face not on the screen. So this is, hopefully I've angled myself a little better this time round so I can talk to you, look at my notes, and so first film, Nightmare on Elm Street, came out in 1984. Yeah, 1984. Written, directed by Wes Craven. Starring Robert Englund, and he is going to be the better Freddy. I'm sorry, and I personally don't hate Jackie Earl Haley's performance. I hate his makeup. The film itself was mediocre, so objectively it wasn't a great film. It was a mediocre film. As for the special effects people, no. Robert Englund, he is the go-to Freddy, and I'll prove it. See, I don't like the film very much. I own it. See, I have to own it. I'm a horror collector. I have to have it for the franchise. The first time I watched this movie, I was about 8 years old. It was the first horror movie I remember seeing, and I was at my friend's sister was babysitting late in the evening. She wasn't too much older than us, so of course, a bunch of kids, we're going to watch something silly before bed. Was Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, scared the shit out of me. Gave me nightmares for months. And I mean, it really gave me night terrors. The film itself is an absolutely stonker of a film. I'll use that word, stonker. It stands the test of time. It's a solid film. There's a couple of times where, personally for me, there's a couple of times where I sort of get pulled out of it. But I think that's to do with the audio choices more than the film itself. What I want to do with these reviews is try and stick to one thing about how it affected me, and for these two first movies, because they're based on true events, I want to try and stick to that. And I have written down a direct quote from, not given to me, it was, I think it was printed in Vulture, in an article in Vulture. Don't think they got it either. I think it was more along the lines of they'd picked it up from somewhere, and I don't know. So, the idea of Freddy came to Wes when he read an article in the LA Times. This is a bit of a word salad, so forgive me. He's quoted as saying, I read an article in the LA Times about a family who had escaped the killing fields in Cambodia and managed to get to the US. Things were fine. And then suddenly, the young son who was having very disturbing nightmares. He told his parents he was afraid that if he slept, the thing chasing him would get him. So he tried to stay awake for days at a time. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. He was a youngster having a vision of a horror that everyone older was denying. That became the central line for A Nightmare on Elm Street. End quote. Now, I'll jump in for myself here. Please forgive my reading skills. It could be the dyslexia. It could be anything, really. But I'm great reading. I'm not great reading aloud. So essentially, the idea of the boogeyman that kills in the sleep came from a real event, a tragedy, a real tragedy, which I think had some weight to making the film that much scarier for me as an adult. Granted, it's not scary now. I don't find the film scary. The thing that caused the film is scary, but I don't find the film scary. I think Freddy's great. I think Heather Langenkamp, Heather Langenkamp, that played Nancy, was a great performance. A couple of other people I've got written down. No, nope, just Robert, Heather, and the film apparently is also notable for having Johnny Depp in his film debut. Now, everyone knows the scene where Glenn, who's played by Johnny Depp, meets his end. I won't spoil it. If you don't know, if you're watching this and you somehow don't know about Nightmare on Elm Street, stop watching. Please don't. Stop watching and go watch. You've been told. So, it's a great film. Stands test of time. The sequels were solid in their own right. A lot of people dislike Freddy's Revenge, the second one. A lot of people actually rave about Dream Warriors, the third film. I love the soundtrack to that, Doc and quality. And Patricia Arquette, who plays Kirsten, the way they used her coming into the film and continued the franchise from her was amazing. Such a shame she couldn't be in. Is it Dream Master? I think it's because she was pregnant at the time. I'm not sure. I'm going off the top of my head, but Patricia Arquette for some reason couldn't do the next film in the series, so they went with some Tuesday Night, I think her name was, singer at the time, and she did the theme for it as well. Amazing. Great. I don't edit. You're gonna see me go Dream Master went into Dream Child, which is a bit weird. Not as weird as when they tried to twist Freddy's abilities like they did with the second film. It's one of the reasons people don't like the second film, is because in it, spoiler alert, Freddy comes out of a pool in a party all on his own. I don't know why they tried that, but I guess it's the curse of the sequel. Whereas if you know Highlander, what the sequel did for that film, good film. I like The Quickening, but it's just not a great way to expand on the film mythos of the movies. Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare came after Dream Child, which again tried something different, was good, but if anything, it's more of an adventurous horror, and I think that's why when Wes Craven's New Nightmare came around, they decided they wanted to go dark, back to the darkness of the first film, and they did that as in a unique way, where they took the idea of Freddy and they used the fact that he was in Wes's head to manifest in reality. So Freddy came from the written fictional world into the real world and tried to get hold of Heather's son, who was seeing things. I can't remember if it's this one. A little Easter egg about this film. I think it's this film. When Nancy's son is chanting the rhyme, he's looking at a TV, and I'm pretty sure on the TV is Evil Dead by Sam Raimi. I'm trying to remember the scene in my head, but Nancy can't figure out to turn the TV off, so she unplugs it, and it pulls her son out of the trance he's in, and he starts screaming. But I think it's an inside joke, because in Evil Dead, I'm pretty sure you see Freddy's glove in the shed scene. More will come on Evil Dead at another time, because I plan to get into that as probably in the next episode for this series. But still on the first film, and it's gone 10 minutes. If you haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street, go watch it. It's a great film. You may enjoy it, you may not. I personally give it a 9 out of 10 because of that experience of just not quite fully getting engrossed into it. And you may like it, you may not. I'm up, I'm down, who knows? Only time will tell. Now, if I go back to next film. Next film, as you can see on screen. The Entity. This was a movie that I borrowed from one of my stepmom's friends. The friend herself used to babysit for us, so we all got to know her. She was very... do you want to keep saying friendly? She was a lovely person, and as we were older, she used to just say, you want to borrow a film, borrow a film. You want to borrow a film, borrow a film. So I borrowed horror films. This is the second film that I borrowed. Obviously not this copy, because it was VHS that I borrowed. I borrowed that film. And I brought it home. When my stepmom saw it, she said, "You're going to turn into some sort of twisted murderer or serial killer when you grow up." So I thought that was fascinating to say to a 12 or 13-year-old child. I can't remember the exact age, 12 or 13. The reason I've added this to my second movie for this episode is that this was the first movie I saw which had such extreme content, and it was also based on a true event or inspired by true events. It came out in 1982, directed by Sidney Furie. Was written by Frank DeFelitta. I don't know if I'm saying that name right. Sorry, Frank. You're probably not with us anymore. I don't know. I should, again, I'm not going to give full... I could look all this stuff up, but I just want to go with what I go with. If something comes to me, it comes to me. Frank adapted it from his own book from 1978, which was inspired by a real case of a lady from California called Doris Bither, who was allegedly raped by multiple ghosts. Now, it started with 4 and then later changed to 3, so if it was true or not, we don't know. But the investigator, the parapsychologist that went there, took multiple photographs of weird anomalies, like you can see here. I've got the notes over the screen, so I can't quite see what. But yeah, you see this anomaly here. That lots of photographs like that. The film itself is very graphic, like I said, but Barbara Hershey, who plays Carla Moran, was amazing. She played a solid part. She really sold the fact that she was a single mother who was struggling to raise her kids. If you watch it, you see exactly how I mean. I'm trying to sell it without ruining it. But they don't believe her at first because of certain reasons. I won't go into it because I don't want to spoil it. And because they don't believe her, it makes it seem more intense than it is. And her performance playing a woman being raped by an invisible ghost, I don't know if she used stunt doubles or if it was... I mean, it came out in 82, so she may have used a stunt double, but the way that she'd been flung about by this invisible entity... and smacked and her body twisted It's just a strong performance, very strong performance. And yes, a 13-year-old boy watching this, it had an impact. It. I will say there's another film about a similar event, which also eventually had an impact, which sort of probably led to my desensitization of certain horrors. But I'll bring that up in a more video related to extreme movies, because at the minute I just want to go with some nice, I say nice and then I talk about this, some mainstream horror movies that watching today are good films. You'll enjoy them. You'll enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street and you'll enjoy The Entity, especially if you love horror. This, I'm hiding the certificate, 18, and this 18. Entity plays more like a tragedy because that's how I would describe it, a supernatural tragedy, because you feel for the mum. It plays off like a drama, but then the supernatural stuff happens, and you get the typical special effects. Like I said before, you get this, which is reminiscent of the poltergeist effects, and it sort of brings it back into the more horror aspect. But for The Entity, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Because I take away a point because it isn't completely a horror film. More, like I said, a supernatural tragedy. But it's one that, again, when I first saw it, I was like, how the hell can they put this? How can this be on a movie? Oh my god. And I later found out about I Spit on Your Grave, which will be a film I'll mention in another thing. Those two movies I would recommend anyone who is into horror watch. If you love your horror films, watch them. I need to change this for a quick second. Back to face. Ta-da! Yeah, if you're into your horror movies, watch them. If you're not scared, don't get scared by things, and you just want to watch something, you're not wanting to watch it to be scared. I mean, okay, I will say, this has triggering events in it, which obviously I've spoke of during this review. Triggering events. So if you are susceptible to the events that's happened in this, don't watch it. Or at least watch it with someone who can be there for you. The only way I can see this as triggering is if you have night terrors. But still, get around to watching it. I will get the Blu-ray for The Entity at some point, but the Australian release is the only release for the Region B players that has extras. The UK release only has the theatrical trailer. I have that already. So when I get to finally working out how to properly edit my videos, I will add this next screen you see to the end, and I'll add, sorry, not the mic. I'll add it to the end videos, but for now, you'll see it here. I will say, this is, the typical tripe everyone says, but if you do like my content, if you do like what you've seen, please like the video. Please subscribe, comment, tell me anything you like in the comments. I don't mute comments, I don't delete comments. I've had a few funny comments which I had to remove on my last YouTube channel. I uploaded a few gym videos on that one, but I had some real funny comments on that. If you do like my content, if you like what I've said, if you all like that stuff, like, dislike if you don't. But this next bit, this is you anyway. You guys rock. Thank you very much. The reason you be seeing Star Trek, Arrow, Buffy, and Doctor Who, you can slightly see Doctor Who, is because that's going to be the main stuff I talk about. I could put other things in it, but I wanted to try and keep it so it would fit on one screen. next video, I will. The only thing I can, the next video of the movies that had an impact on me series, the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I will go into is the Evil Dead franchise. I'm not sure what else they'll go with it yet. I'll work it out. But you guys take it easy. Thank you very much for watching. It's another video that's gone to 20 minutes. I will work out eventually how to cut it down. And maybe when I'm editing, I'll chop it up here and there. But I go off on tangents. I get lost. I have written notes. I've got written notes. I'll show you. Hold on. Where's screen 1? Here we go. I have notes. See? Yeah. Back to screen 2. I have notes. It's just following them. I need to bullet point them really, so I follow them more strictly. I went through the end spiel, and it's not the end of it. It's not the end of the video, or it was the end of the video, and went off on a tangent. But it's why you guys love me. It's why the people that watch my videos love me. It's because I just ramble on and on. But I will end here. Thank you very much for watching. Like, dislike, comment. If you want to see something, you want me to review something, you want me to talk about something, you just want to hear about my life, comment, and I'll do it. What I'll do is I'll wait till I get a few comments to see what people say, because at the minute, having one person comment, yeah, my videos aren't that much, but even if you're not subscribed and you want to comment, just say, hi chap, how are you? You do it, you know? I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to talk. I'll respond to every comment, even the ones that are just like for likes, subs for subs, shares for shares. I respond to them. Not that I've actually gotten any response from them yet, but you know, I'm not. One channel wanted me to, you know, said that, you know, want to be friends, so I subbed to them, and they're a channel that apparently helps smaller channels. I don't want help. I mean, if someone wants to offer help, fair enough, but I'll work this out eventually. I'll work this YouTube thing out eventually. But for the time being, it's just me talking to a robot on the top of my monitor and about things which I want to talk about. I know I didn't mention it in the video, but... Well, I don't think I mentioned it, but I also have Freddy vs. Jason. I probably won't go into the Friday the 13th films. But it's one of those, you know, it's a fun film. You guys take it easy, and I intend it to go not be too long. It always ends up over 20 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy.